I'd like to invite on screen a moderator for the session, Nilesh Gohil, Chief Growth Officer, Socrati. I'd also like to welcome and invite our speakers for the session, Srivatsa Udupa, Director, Digital Marketing View, Abhishek Seth, AGM Brand Marketing, Tata Sky, Prajakta Rathe, AVP Performance Marketing at Sugar Cosmetics, Smita Murarka, Vice President Marketing and E-Commerce, Duroflex, and all of them will be discussing on the pertinent topic of the state of performance marketing in India. I request all our speakers, panelists to please switch on your videos and join us online. Yeah, I see Nilesh is here. So Nilesh, I'm going to leave the screen over to you to take the conversation forward.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Kathy. And thanks for the opportunity. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in for this fascinating summit.
Nilesh.
Yeah, hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to a conversation on the state of performance marketing. My name is Nilesh. I head performance media at Makal Socrati. And as you would know, performance marketing, also known as direct response marketing or ROI marketing, is the most purest form of result-oriented marketing approach. And it's also the most mainstream, I would say, especially for the new age brands, and in these precarious times that we all are in. And in the close circles, the pandemic is being touted to be the most effective chief digitization officer. And the maelstrom has kind of changed the shape of many companies, the industries, and thereby the marketing, right? And that's what we want to discuss here today. In this conversation, we'll dive right into the understanding the state of performance marketing and understand views through this illustrious panel members that we have. Before we get started, let me make a proactive disclosure. At Makal Socrati, my team and I have worked with each of the panelists that we have here today. And it's been indeed a pleasure working with each one of the brands and the individuals here. Each of the brands are bellwethers in the industries that they play in. And I can say with the confidence that I think it'll be an immense learning experience from these champions for all of us today. So let me perhaps begin with the topic that is most relevant for all of us and want to understand from each one of you on how the pandemic has impacted marketing thought process and the marketing planning in your respective organization. So any one of you could perhaps give us your views, and then we go around the table. Abhishek, maybe you want to start? Sorry, we can't hear you, Abhishek. I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I said that I just got disconnected for a few seconds. So I think it's an introduction you were asking for.
Yeah, I was asking for how the pandemic has changed the marketing thought process and the planning in your organization.
Oh. Months, I think it's becoming more mainstream, no doubt about it. The increasing internet spends on the digital marketing front is always on the rise. So I think what pandemic did for each one of us, and there has been WhatsApp messages doing the round, the digital transformation has never been met by anything else as much as it has been met by the this pandemic. And that's actually true. So what has happened is that at an organization level, at least for us, we have started leveraging Tata Sky digital platforms and digital marketing as a core stream And so much so that now the spends have gone up to close to very 50% of the media spends have now gone towards digital, and it's a huge leap from where we are coming from. So yes, so I think it has become very much mainstream thanks to the I would say that the pandemic, because it has surfaced a lot of opportunities there for digital to take care of and take the burden from other channels per se.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like you said, I think pandemic has done something that most of us can't over the years, right? We have been working with Tata Sky for like 7, 8 years. I think the kind of the way digital has transformed, right, over the years, but especially so in the last year. Yeah, any one of you, Prajakta or Srivats or Smita?
Yeah, so hi everyone. So pandemic, it has been a boon and a bane, both things at a time. So boon because we, women have started, working women, all of us have started spending more time at home. The ones who are working, doing their household chores did get some of the free time, some, not more, but yeah, some free time. And working women got a lot lot of that time that they used to not get while they were working, because of which the avenues kind of opened. Home care, or you can say personal care, all of these avenues kind of increase because there was more time at home. What to do, you can spend more time on YouTube videos, spend more time on doing all of that and trying that at home, because now that you have so much time. So the pandemic, touchwood, has impacted us good, in a good way, because of that, nowadays you can see there are micro level influencers, right? So everyone is as a woman, when they know that, okay, I am interested in this category and they have that much time, I think we have seen a lot of emerging influences in this pandemic time, because they were at home. So they tried new lipsticks, they tried new makeup, they tried skincare, and we also saw that our skincare category, which was not that being used, or you can say people weren't trying that, they were ready to try in this pandemic. So that is kind of a new thing that happened during the pandemic for us. Of course, they were skeptical to buy directly, or because of the given circumstances in the economy and the income. So that happened slowly, but the rising of the searches that were happening around those kind of keywords, or say those kind of categories, that increased a lot, and because of which we kind of gained a good amount of sessions during those times. So as soon as the shipping started, or as soon as there was like unlock 1, unlock 2, unlock 3, the stages of these unlock, we saw that unlock 1 was had like the it actually boomed. It made a boom, because that time everyone were like so aggressive on spending their money, especially women. We couldn't do those that shopping which we had to, so they all kind of shopped like how. So this is the kind of impact that Touchwood it had on our kind of business, is what I think.
Perfect. Smita, I think you have had the similar experience, I would say so.
Yeah, it's unfortunate the pandemic happened, but while it happened, I think for each one of us, it was either an opportunity or a crisis. At Duraflex, we really saw it as, we call it the vaccine for our business and the category. So we belong to a sleep solution industry, which was almost sleeping in the consumer's mind. Mattress as a product was not something consumers were actively engaging in. They were just changing it or buying their first mattress. But what the pandemic did was really accelerate conversations around sleep. And we'd like to believe we were one of the brands that were really at the forefront of it. So we did two things the minute the lockdown was announced. One is really actively accelerated our conversations around sleep education. So even when the Prime Minister went live, we had our digital ads talking about how sleep builds immunity. So we invested even at a time where people were almost locking down their marketing departments. We invested in content, we invested in digital education, did a lot of activities around that. and simultaneously really stepped up our foundation on digital journey for the brand, because Duraflex is a very strong retail brand for the last more than 5 decades, and we did want to accelerate our digital journey on that probably double down or 10x in terms of speed, and we were able to do a lot of foundation setting, which probably in the daily run of business with the established channels becomes very difficult. So if I have to talk positively, it really helped get the entire organization capacity and focus on establishing these foundations. And once the lockdown opened up, there was no looking back even in terms of business. Today we are able to call ourselves a very strong omni brand, and we are one of the leading brands on e-commerce platforms, as well as through our website, through our experience stores offline. So we use digital marketing, we use content, we use a lot of avenues today, which probably were very different in the industry itself earlier. So yeah, I think the pandemic has done a lot for our category and our business and the way we think, even as marketers.
Perfect, Smita. And I think Srivats and especially Abhishek, right? Your companies have in some ways kept audience engaged, right? Especially during the pandemic. So how has it been for you? It's not as mainstream perhaps in India market as it is in number of Southeast Asia and India market. So it'll be good to learn from you, Srivats.
Thank you, Nilesh. Right. So for us, if it was though it was like a very unfortunate scenario for everybody working from home, locked up, right? But we had a job to do, essentially to entertain everyone, right? And for us, essentially, it was like a perfect storm, wherein we had very, very, very good content, and also the ability to scale up during that time, right? And as Prajakta was saying, right, people essentially did not have a lot of things to do, so they came to us more and more and more to basically watch more and more good content. So for us, essentially, the last year was one of the key years in terms of where we saw very, very strong growth, right? We are like number one in Southeast Asia in terms of the number of users. We hit around say 45 million plus users and around 5.3 million subscribers across Middle East and Southeast Asia, right? So for us, essentially, as a OTT, pandemic was a boon, but essentially the timing of having a lot of say good content and coming in was also significantly that helped us to scale up to the levels that we could. And being a D2C company and being a very, very, very strong, say, performance oriented company, I think what I used to say initially was, even if you say cut a little bit of say in our hand, I think the only word that will come out is going to performance and ROI, right? So that is how the entire organization is. And so being that kind of say organization where we heavily focus on ROI and how we monitor and how we essentially look at the overall spends, this essentially gave us the opportunity to say look at say how we innovate further, how we are able to say reach out to our customers in a much better way, and build the organization to scale up to the next level is what we essentially focused on. Yeah, so as I said, like it was almost like a perfect storm for us.
I hear your comment about whether you make a cut and performance would come out. I think we can feel that for sure, Srivatsa. So next one, right now that you have some early kind of trends and anyway the next financial year is coming about, right? So how have you planned to build upon these key trends? What are the big ideas that you would want to share with us, right? That is relevant for you in the 2021.
Yeah. So for us, I think as I said, right, the content was one of the key drivers, and some of our originals did extremely well. Say for example, in Indonesia, the Pretty Little Liars that we had was essentially like say multi-bagger in terms of a lot of awards also. So for us, essentially this year also, it's going to be a key strategy to invest in good content, as well as to keep the entire Southeast Asia entertained on the good content. So we will be focusing more on say bringing in the right content for the right users, and expand the overall slate for everybody to enjoy more on our platforms.
Right. Any particular channel or type of approach that you would want to build upon, Shivas, especially some channels, especially TikTok, for instance, now not as relevant, unfortunately, in India, right? Any plans there? How has it been for you, and what are your plans there?
Yeah. So as I was mentioning, right, so innovation is the key for all performance marketers, right? And by innovation, essentially what I mean is to look at opportunities which is, say, gives you an untapped advantage than what you have done historically. So TikTok, essentially, when it started off as a platform, we always would want to be one of the early adopters and try out new things, right? So in 2021 also we would want to build on it. So some of the key things that we have realized on TikTok and say similar channels is that, you know, whatever say you're using on say Facebook, Google, and your erstwhile say media may not work in your TikTok, right? So it's a more say creative intensive platform, but what essentially it gives you is actually access to people who are consuming a lot of content, right? So you also need to say invest in say creative strategies of building in say UGC, right? Kind of say creatives, which is essentially not so say mainstream creatives, but it will look like say UGC, but you are essentially trying to communicate to the right audience in the right way, right? So the building that kind of say capability as well as building that kind of say creative strategy is what we are focusing on, and that essentially will help us take the next step forward also, because I think for youngsters, TikTok kind of a channel essentially where they spend a lot of time and would essentially always want to be in front of the right audience.
Got it. Thanks a lot, Sivatsa. Any one of you want to go next about your plans for this year?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I can.
Pigeons. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, Mika.
So next year is looking very exciting, I think, for all of us. Definitely marketing has got its mojo back in terms of being valued, as a main accelerator for getting growth. So for us, we are really looking at building the brand very holistically. We're not looking at dividing it into a traditional or offline or an online sort of in marketing. We want to have a very strong omni play, and we want digital marketing to grow our online business as well as impact the offline business, because we've really seen digital marketing play a role in the journey of learning and understanding the product and coming to a very strong conclusion about which product and brand to buy. But there are quite a few people who still want to go and experience the product offline and then make a choice, because it's a very high value purchase for us. So definitely for us, all our marketing efforts are going to be in that omni journey and making sure the consideration is well established, and then whichever channel the consumer buys. So that's how we're integrating. We want to invest a lot in MarTech, in making sure we understand data points at every journey. Because as I said, if you split the journey, then it becomes very transactional gains that you're looking at, right? So we are, as an organization, as a marketing team, looking to invest in technology, invest in new ways of understanding data, because while digital data is available, it's also very gray. It's quite dependent on what you read from those numbers and how you act on it. So we are trying to make that a lot more simplified, a lot more readable, and that's going to be our focus while we continue to scale and expand. We're also looking to expand geographically. So from advertising point of view, we are looking to really understand the whole vernacular advertising, understand how do we marry our international English speaking kind of look and feel with the native audience as well. So these are some of the things which are going to be new to us, and is quite a trend also in the world of digital advertising. So we are working with partners like you and Google to see how we do this best.
Great. And I think Abhishek and Tata Sky has somewhat similar, right? There's a significant presence offline, through partners as well, and obviously the online. And I think as a brand, it's fairly ahead of the curve, right? Building upon a ton of machine learning based campaigns. So Abhishek, maybe you can share your thoughts, right, on how you build upon right these key trends for this year for Tata Sky.
Yeah. So see, as I was saying that digital is any which way is gaining traction, and there is a natural curve of growth in terms of the maturity of how the digital marketing is done in the organization, as well as how the entire category is taking that, including the leaderships in all the organization. Certain trends are definitely emerging out, and I think Smita mentioned about it, and so did Shivats. The key things which are definitely going to be the see what pandemic has done. Let's talk about it. Taking a minute, what it has done is that it has told an alternate reality to every organization and every individual that things cannot go as per your plan. Some radically unforeseen circumstance can come, and that's where you need be prepared. You need be prepared by chopping off your spends. So the organizations and brands have, and obviously the finance team, we all deal with the CFOs, I think they have become far more judicious and considerate of where we spend, what we spend, how much we spend, right? And asking the questions of whether it's worth spending. Can we relook at it? Now, considering us also, we are into the servicing industry. We have a offline entire thing of somebody to go to your place to fix the thing, equipments. You can go to the dealers and do the recharges, etc., etc. And also there is ultimate thing of the content consumption also, right? The biggest thing is that if you are sitting at your home, and more so now, the remote wars are far more real now than ever, because same prime time is there for everyone. People are not out even during the day hours. Somebody wants to watch news of finance market versus somebody else wants to watch the same TV of some GC shows, etc. So yeah, so a lot of those things are happening. So in all the domains, whatever, in across all the things, what is there, two emerging trend is that first, a lot of focus on the performance marketing, and that's where the organizations are shying away from making so much awareness spends. Some of the organizations which have the bear with, they do go ahead with that, but a lot of them are trying to be more judicious about it. At least the questioning is there, right? So the point which Smita made, that a capability to have the right martech in house to get the right analytics, right reporting to validate whether what value added is doing, it's very critical, and it will be more mainstream going forward. Second thing is that giving an alternate viewing experience to the users, right? Alternate screen experience, etc. So that these remote wars, all those are now, we have seen the entire trend. Shivats talked about it. You must have benefited. All OTTs had benefit. So OTT is going to be big. That's a big trend change. Now, what behaviorally has happened is that people were shying from OTTs. We talked about they being in the freemium model, and people are tolerant but still not want to spend money, etc. But we have seen people is spending money going after the, so there is a lot of evolving consumer needs which will emerge, and expectations from the brand. That okay, now I can do the management of the OTT. I'm okay to pay for the OTT, but I have 3 different apps. I'm paying for 3 of them. Their billing date doesn't sync. I don't know, every OTT is coming with the new content, which is what I have watched, what is the new one, which is the most newest release, which one should I take? So they need to find solution, and that I think is a big area of opportunity. How can you bring that convenience aspect in even in the newer coming thing like an OTT? And
Yeah,
obviously on rise.
yeah, and the screen time, right?
Yeah.
Which is also going about, right? No, you're right. Yeah, Prajakta, any thoughts from you for your plans for this year?
Yeah, I mean, we are more concentrating on organic this year, because given the trends in the beauty industry, of course, there's a lot of competition, and we lack, in that area, like we literally lack a lot, because we are above certain brands, but we have to really get there, because and to push our efforts that we're doing through paid and through other market areas, we need that presence. So we're strongly focusing on two things: making an omni-channel approach, maybe, okay, but starting with organic first. So that is what we are going to do. I mean, that's the kind of you can say it is the need of the hour, that we need to really focus on. So that's the objective this year.
Got it. And when you say you lack certain wherewithal, right? What exactly do you mean, Prajakta? You mean the brand awareness part, or the competition?
Brand awareness, yes. I mean, that would also include um, somehow paid efforts, because obviously you will need a lot of push from that area. But
Right.
apart from that, I think the efforts that we have put on our channels, that is our own media, okay, that is our on own website or app, improving the technology, improving the smooth experiences, smooth user experiences on both app and on web, is what we need. The proper optimization and the entire journey of the user needs to be somehow elevated. We need to do that. So for that, we need to obviously do a lot of optimization on the organic, that is the SEO front. And once we do that, slowly we will see where we are lacking and where we are improving, where we definitely have the scope to improve. Branding, in terms of course, I mean, if we do the SEO part, the most organic for us will get covered. Branding, like Abhishek and everyone is being very candid about it, that yes, of course, we are looking at money. We are looking. So branding requires a lot of money. So that we are definitely not putting right now.
Got it. Thanks for clarification, Prajakta. Right. So just touching upon the branding point that both of you mentioned, right? And as a one of the players in this ecosystem, right? We feel the branding could also be kind of made much more measurable, right? And impactful. I want to pick your thoughts. How you have been doing, at least so far. I'm sure there is enough and more monies have been invested in building the brands for each of the companies where you work with, right? How is the kind of connecting thread between the performance and branding have been, and how you plan to kind of even beef it up if there is any plan?
Okay, so when we talk about connecting them, it is a long window that we are talking about, right? It is actually a long window. The journey is right now of a user, compared to earlier times, was quite linear. Of course, due to the pandemic, and because the time spent on medias have increased, everything, that window certainly has increased, because now the research is more. Going back to the e-com website or whatever that I want to buy, I go back, go there, visit that website, come back again, do my research, do some kind of thing, till the time that I'm literally being bombarded with, say, 7 times at least, 7 or 8 times I've seen the ads and the same kind of offer is being promoted to me. Then is when I convert, right? So the thread that actually connects them is actually long. And to do that, we need to be consistent with what we're doing. One, take a small cohort, try with that cohort, try a certain kind of reach campaign, or do something for that cohort, and then you follow up, and then you see what's your cost per acquisition per, because that is also important at the same time. We can't be acquiring consumers while not gaining anything out of it. And yes, while doing awareness and performance both, for and acquiring, of course, acquisition is the end goal here. And while if that becomes way too high, the revenue is obviously not so good looking for us. So that's the reason awareness, we don't concentrate much. I really believe that, I have started to believe this. Okay, earlier I was of that okay, let's do branding, let's because I know the potential what it has, and what kind of impact and results it drives. But then I've come to this point as well, that if at all, through performance, if I'm getting I will show that kind of ad to maybe the same cohort, sorry, different cohorts, and maybe there will be a overlap of that ad. That is also possible. That is okay for me, because my frequency is going high, and with performance I'm also getting branding, and my efficiency is also, my cost efficiency is still maintained. So during this time, this is what I have learned, the brand has also learned that, and we have achieved that. Okay, we have been doing this, we've been only doing performance objective or performance led ads, and whatever that we do is only and only based performance, really, like Srivatsa said. I completely get that, because that is what we breathe and eat and everything, that's all in my head going on always. So that's the reason awareness is becomes a too less, and a too short, you can say, I can say, small amount of cohort and small amount of targeting or small amount of budget, but performance is huge, and therefore the connecting threads become, the long, it's a long window, acquisition is higher, and therefore the experiments go very slow, and they are very, say micro, we literally look at those kind of, on a daily basis, how much is that we are spending. So that is what is changed, or maybe that is what we need to look at, or we do look at Sugar Cosmetics.
Got it. Thanks, Prajakta. Abhishek, any comments from you on that?
I actually have a very alternating view on this, a contradictory aspect, and I can say that we had tested this out. So what we did was that we were of the same thing, that awareness spends we had not been doing, and we know that our brand is the category owner. Actually, even if people have other brand DTH connections, they call it Tata Sky, just like it's a Xerox versus Photostat. So that happens. So when you have such a high brand recall, and then you do certain acquisition of performance marketing activities, we tend to believe that branding is already high and the performance ads will do their job, etc. And then we continue to do it. We were seeing good returns, and we were seeing good conversion numbers, etc. And all those things were there. So completely the thought process was that, okay, yes, why to spend on awareness, why to go about that? So two things happened actually. First, we realized that over the duration of time, when we continued to do that, we observed that the performance returns were diminishing, and the conversions efficiencies was going down, and we couldn't find a reason why it is happening, right? And but still it was working. So there was a duality in that also, right? That why is still working? It's not going drastically high, but still is working. But yes, we are not seeing much improvements there. So the two things happened. First is a new phenomena which we came out with, of understanding that awareness through performance. So as Prajakta was stating, that you do the performance advertisement with n number of higher frequency, that first the initial few frequencies of it, exposures of it, build the awareness, and the next set of frequencies, they move the consumer down the funnel, and then the conversion happens. And that is what was happening. But that also has its limitation, because you are only trying to mint the funnel which is already there, right? Which you can outreach through performance. And there somebody needs to do the heavy lifting of even increasing the top of the funnel. And that's where the awareness campaigns play a key role. And that's when we did it, and we found a correlation. And I think so that's why I hold a different view. But yes, this new emergence of awareness through performance is something which was a fact finding for us. And second thing, that still you need to do the awareness campaign. The only point is that how will you justify the awareness spends? And that is where that is what becomes a showstopper in getting and securing the funding for that. That's where the challenge is. I think the MarTech or specific linkages between the awareness and performance will solve that.
Got it. Thanks, Abhishek. And I think you are right. I mean, it's a different point in the life cycle, right? And I think what Prajakta said from the current play, right, that Sugar is at, it makes sense. And I think with Tata Sky, we were there maybe 8 months back, and more recently, I think it has been an eye opener on how the consumer trends and the search queries and so on were impacted, while it was not very clear in terms of the measurement and the impact back then. Brilliant. Smita, any thoughts from your side?
Yeah, so this is something that's a big learning for us, and something that I'm very, what do you say, clear about in our current journey. And to add to Abhishek's point of view on that, today our KPIs are to become a very strong nationally available brand across India, across geographies, regional languages, really expand our territory even physically and on digital. And to build the brand, because the brand is very strong in a lot of zones, but it needs to really penetrate because the category itself is premiumizing right now. So that's one ask. The other ask is, how do we really establish the consumer journey across awareness to trial, right? So ours is not an impulse purchase. It doesn't happen that you see an Instagram post and you go ahead and buy it. There is at least 1 to 2 months of research that the consumer does and then finally buys our product. And it is a 6 to 7 year kind of a cycle in our main category of mattress. So somebody who's bought us once will refer us to their family, to their friends, but will transact with us again only after a couple of years. So needs to be reminded, right? So for us, branding plays a very crucial role. And for us to understand that entire funnel and play at every part of the funnel, right, from awareness, consideration, evaluation, the entire thing till the final conversion, it's extremely critical. And performance, while it is an always on strategy, branding is very critical for us because we've seen when we've done a couple of tests, when we've limited our branding spends, we've seen a huge impact on the organic searches as well, on our SOV, on finally consumer coming to the website and researching. So we've seen a direct impact on that. So while conversion campaigns are very critical of an absolute measure of your CACs and your cost of acquisition and all those things, branding is very critical for us to build the brand and build. We want to take a thought leadership on sleep and all the products related to that. So for us, branding becomes very important. And we also have the objective of becoming the Tata Sky or the Xerox of sleep. So with that in mind, I think our journey on branding has to be always on too, and it's very crucial for us.
Got it. I think I'm cognizant of time. I think we have 10 more minutes. So Srivats, any thoughts from you on the branding side?
So I am more comfortable with performance than branding, but essentially as an organization, we give due importance to branding as well. And so specifically on, say, channels which essentially make sense for us, right? Something could be, say, video selling videos could be one strategy. So essentially it all depends on what kind of strategy you're building in, or essentially focus on the cities or areas where the penetration of your brand is not so high, right? So then you can essentially create specific, say, campaigns focused on the location and measure it in a much better way than what you say would have done at a national level. And so as an organization, we believe that performance and branding has to go hand in hand. As Abhishek also was mentioning, right? As in, it essentially leads to a longer term, say, benefit of, say, lower costs, and also the overall recall, like, say, performance marketing, right? So like a lot of things are also hidden. It's not everything is actually very clear. Like, say, for example, simple things like, when you say compare your branding SCM versus non-branding, right? So if you have to do that, then it's not the right way to look at it, right? So a lot of, say, small things are hidden within your performance marketing, which is not very clear, but we still go ahead and measure and say that, that we are doing the right thing. So similarly, you essentially can do branding with a specific strategy in play. Like, say, you can have a location-based branding, or it could be video selling video or anything like that, right? So essentially, it depends on, say, what stage of organization, say, maturity of the marketing is in, and how much you have invested in martech to find out whether you're doing a good job in terms of how much you're spending and is there actually return or not, right? And we have seen say success in lot of ways in branding also. So, and like say for example, your overall say cost per user on say all your performance marketing say goes down, and when you do a branding kind of say campaigns, because there's already awareness present, right? But and the measurement essentially also depends on how you're say doing. If you're looking at an isolated say buckets, you may not be able to say find out the true impact, but you will be able to say if you're looking at an overall perspective, you will be able to say figure out whether it's actually working out for you or not.
Sure. Another quick one. I think a couple of you may be able to comment, especially you, Srivatsa, and this is relevant to many brands who want to go international, right? And we see that trend from India, right? Started a couple of years back, and now many edutech companies are trying to go international, for example. How is it? From especially the audience communication standpoint, right? That you decide how do you orchestrate that journey. It is genuinely intriguing for all of us to learn, right? And if you could comment on that. India obviously is a much diverse as well, so I think it is a learning for all of us, right? While we are perhaps playing in India, but if you could highlight.
I think India also has a similar thing, right? I think there's countries within country, right?
Correct.
And every region is like a country, right? For us in Southeast Asia also, every say country is quite different in terms of how the customers are and how they perceive value, right? Right from your say communication medium, communication say channel, right? So let's say communication medium. Let's say for example, Indonesia is very heavy Bahasa oriented, right? Malaysia is a mix of English and Malay, right? Middle East Arabic works fantastically well along with English, right? So some people actually react more to English say communication rather than say Arabic. So and like say, but in say South Africa, right, you will never be able to use a word called free, which we use so easily in say India, right? So free essentially mean that you will have to give everything for free, right? So you will have to use say different kind of say communication strategy for every geo, and so how we essentially do it is that there is a lot of content that flows among the countries, right? But the overall say how do you want to sell it comes from the local insights, right? And so we have the business team have say good insights about the overall content and how essentially are the customers consuming it, right? That is how we essentially also tap onto their overall say insights and use their overall strategy of how they are going to build say view in that particular country and use that consistently, right? And once you basically figure out that this is what the overall value proposition is, be consistent again and again and again, and but have say different strategy across all the countries that you're working in, because though the content may flow in every country, but the customer value proposition is actually very different.
Makes sense. And Prajakta, you have any thoughts? I think you are also big on international.
No, not big on international. We've just during this pandemic itself, we started doing something, but we're not that big yet, and we just laying our grounds and literally laying it very slowly. So no such things. But yeah, I can say that even because the laying is important, because the competition is much higher, because there I think every other celebrity has their own brands. The way that trend is also seen in India, this actually just come from there, because every other celebrity has their own brand pertaining to one category, something, and there is a lot of trust that users have. So therefore we have to go very slow, and that's what we're doing.
Got it. Any one of you have any thoughts, Abhishek, Smita, within India, any learning that you want to share? around communication? No?
Yeah, Abhishek, you want to go ahead? I can join in later.
Yeah, so I think within India there are multiple geographies, and it's very valid when you are seeing a different geographies, different user behaviors uh, across different countries. India has a lot of mini Indias. We all say it, right? It has a lot of countries. So actually, each region has a very different demographic aspect to it, behavioral aspect to it, lingual aspect to it, and hence for the strategies, whether you go outside India, take your brand to a global, or take your brand to local, right? In both the ways, the learnings, the thought process, the strategies are same. The efforts required, the intelligence required, the hard work required for a marketer and advertisers to take a brand to global is as much as it is required to take a brand local. And I think that ties back to your core strategy as a brand. How do you want to go about it? If and so to say, like within India, a Tamil Nadu versus a Karnataka versus Andhra Pradesh versus Kerala, the four south states, the Bengal, the Punjab, and Maharashtra, and HSM markets, and metro cities which are more English rather than and very I would say a cosmopolitan sort of a cultures there. So they are all very different geographies, and that's why your communication strategy, whether it is at a creative level, whether it is your media strategy in terms of figuring out what media mix you need to use, figuring out which publishers, etc. They all go for a different toss, and rightly so, because at one point of time, the point which Prajakta was making, you need to go slow. It's a very important aspect, because you have to go right, and that is why you need to go slow, whether going global or going local. Because you pick up one area, you pick up one geography, you see what actually resonates, what marketing mix, what creative mix, what strategy works for it, and then you need to circle coming back to it, fixing it, and then finalizing it, and then going about it, rather than this is one strategy template which I have, and this is I will use wherever I will go, I will just change the insights. No, that doesn't happen. So I would just say local is as good as global, and that's why all the other points remain the same.
Got it. Any quick points, Smita? I think we are running out of time.
Sure. So very quickly for us, just to pick up from where Abhishek left it, while slow is good, I think as an industry, we've been there. Agility is very important for us. We have to be very fast because we are doing two things. One is selling products, which are very essential. The other is really trying to improve sleep habits and educate consumers about sleep. And both this, the level of understanding that consumers have is very, very at an elementary level. And we really need to transform that. We really need to, and this is a good time where health awareness is at its highest, where a lot of things are there. We need to do it at a national level, but at the same time, as everybody mentioned, India is a very complicated, non-homogeneous market. So you really need to talk to them in their cultural nuances, in their language. A simple thing like mattress, behaves very differently across geography. So somebody uses only unbranded, even in a premium space. Somebody, the size is very different. So a lot of things need to be handled, but at the same time, we do want to do it at a pan-India level in a non-homogeneous way, keeping the crux of the brand together. So it is as complicated as going to multiple countries for sure.
Right. And I think there are questions from the audience, right? But I don't think we will have a time for us to go through. So I'm sorry, but we will probably want to go offline. Yeah.
So we do have few minutes as we did start a little early. So you can take the audience question. It'll be great.
Okay, perfect. So I think one of the questions, and a very apt one, is whether any one of you are able to create like a so-called one view of audience, right? From online and offline, through the marketing technology investments that you may have done. There's a lot of buzz and talk about this area, right? But very few companies have actually materialized something significant here. So any learning there, right, from any one of you would be enlightening.
Yeah, I would want to go ahead if it's okay. So see, there is what is happening is that in the yesteryears we have seen the concept of online but completion offline. The call cash on delivery, the COD, very Indian phenomena which emerged, right? That you buy a product online, you do the research online, but actually you ended up buying it offline, or you ordered it online but you paid offline, right? When the delivery agent was at your place. Actually, what's happening is a lot of trend reversal because of the education, because of the trust which is built up over the period of time, and obviously because of the digital payments and cards, etc., how they are proliferated internal to each individual and household. So what's happening is something which we say that we walk into a retail store, we buy some product from a kirana shop, and then we scan the QR code and pay through Paytm or Google Pay or through just tap the Wi-Fi sort of tap and go cards and all. So this is very interesting, and because of this, what is happening? The online to offline, there are two things. There is online to offline and then offline to online. Unfortunately, the organizations still measure it in the traditional way, and so do all the marketing partners and everyone. That there is a KPI of digital sales, which means a digital end-to-end sales or digital to cash on delivery, right? The two metrics which are definitely captured. Then there is a third metric, which is a second metric, which is completely of offline sales. There is a strong need of the introduction of a new metric, something called as a offline sale with the online conversion, online payment, right? Offline sales with a online fulfillment, because that person or that consumer has a capability of buying online. There are certain brand reasons or certain gaps in the consumer journey or availability or the 4 P's of the marketing, which we say, right? Product, pricing, placement, and packaging, which doesn't allow him to buy the product online. Something is missing there. And that is why it's a very key metric, because this person has a capability to pay online. He doesn't shy from making digital payments. He prefers to get deals. He makes the payment online, even in the offline retail store. So those are the things. So this is a new thing which I am seeing emerging. That's what is a connecting dot between the offline and online, which we should be cognizant of.
Right. And I think the question, Abhishek, is whether we are able to build a view. And if so, how and what type of attribution or a platform that any one of you have used, right, to create that single customer view of sorts.
No, that's what I'm saying. If you have this thing in place, right, then that will stitch the things together. Everyone has a CRM database. They know their inventory sell through and sell out on the offline world. Everyone has their online retail SKUs listed and all. But the problem, the gap which is emerging is because of this. And once you solve for it and you also bring it to the core CRM, the offline, online, we say, right, that we can do hyper local market targeting and then move the people to the retail store, etc. Why to even do that? Can you directly not leap leap them directly from offline purchasing end to end to online purchasing end to end? All those things can be taken care of if this new metric is involved and it is stitched together, even in your reporting perspective. And that, I think everyone has their own proprietary tools in their organizations, but any CRM, irrespective of whatever it is, currently it is online and it is offline. I think bringing the distribution of by the transaction fulfillment type in that will make the difference.
Got it. Smita, you want to comment here?
Yeah, I just want to give a word of advice to everybody listening to this. One is, if you're at the beginning of the journey, don't get too lost in all this, and attributions start impacting when you've achieved scale, right? So first keep doing one step at a time. There are 3-4 aspects of this. One is your website is the biggest host for you to read data, right? You have your G Analytics, start reading that. Then connect your CRM data, as Abhishek is saying, so we do a lot of drop-off calls from website and understand where have they fulfilled their journey. Start connecting those 2 dots and you'll definitely see a pattern emerging, and then you can automate that process as well. Then the third part is your POS at your stores, which is the offline stores where your data is hosted. Start connecting that. So do one thing at a time and keep expanding it. And once you've achieved scale, then definitely the in-house capability of putting, logic to it and getting this data automated as much as possible. However, no MarTech tool will give you a 100% view of the consumer at 100% scale with 100% attribution. It's the marketer's, analytical skill that can really derive. It's like any other analysis, right? You have to derive the learning and the impact and come to a conclusion. So your regular reviews are very critical as a team cross-functionally to really put this two and two together. So MarTech is not just a platform or just a technology that you implement and then, at a click of it, everybody knows what's happening. While digital has given marketing a lot of data visible, it's as important for marketers to read that and decipher the information as well.
Perfect. So I think now it's genuinely a closing time. So let me give you a quick closing thoughts, guys. In my opinion, performance is a philosophy, and dominance of digital, like Smita and others have said, right, has pushed the philosophy to its forefront. I personally think that all marketing is performance, and I think most of the panel members agree here. And again, performance is the future, right? So thanks for listening in. We look forward to many more such conversations. I think we could only do part of what we endeavor to do here. So I think there is a lot more that is left out, and perhaps we can pick up in a next summit sometime, right? So you take care and stay safe. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Nilesh, for steering this wonderful conversation. And thank you once again to our panelists for sharing your insights and case studies here with us.